We've had fun doing this for a few of the teams. We're now at Manchester City, and it's been some decade for them. How difficult was it for you to narrow it down to a top three?
I think this was the hardest.
Really?
Of the lot. I mean, look at this list. There's so many great Manchester City players, and trying to pick a top three out of this lot was hard. This was hard.
Each of them has an argument for being in contention.
Yeah.
So who just missed out before we get to your top three?
Yaya Toure just missed out.
Again, he could easily have been
Easily. We recently did on ESPN FC a team of the decade, and if memory serves me correctly, I think I had Yaya Toure in there. Yet still, he's not in my top three for Manchester City. That speaks volumes. It really does.
Number three,
Kevin De Bruyne. That tells how good this list is when Kevin De Bruyne only gets in at number three. Listen, what can you say about Kevin De Bruyne? I mean, one of the great Premier League players, continues to astound. I don't know where to start or finish in singing De Bruyne's praises. He is absolutely pivotal and has been pivotal to City's successes over recent years.
who was the Kevin De Bruyne of your era when you played?
That's a good question. I couldn't tell you right now offhand.
The reason I ask is because I was thinking about the same, and I don't really know if there's someone like Kevin De Bruyne, because he's a mixture of a lot of different players,
Yeah.
but most importantly, he is
Probably
himself.
the closest would be a Steven Gerrard in terms of the work rate, the goals, the assists, everything like that he brings. Even if you start looking around the great Manchester United teams, and I'm just kind of thinking about, maybe the start of this decade, I'm not sure that even that United team had somebody who was as multifaceted as Kevin De Bruyne. They had outstanding talents.
Yeah.
But somebody who could do it all as well as Kevin De Bruyne. The comparisons are Steven Gerrard, a Paul Scholes. Are we going as far back? Is Ronaldo, is that a different position?
It's a mix of a different
Yes, it is a different position, so maybe it's not a fair comparison. But that Stevie G, Paul Scholes kind of more, which is good company to be in, to be honest.
What's your criteria for this? Because I often think it's difficult. It's like saying who was better, Shaka, Hislop, or Alan Shearer, right? I mean, you've got two different positions. So is your criteria goals? Is it creativity? Is it defensive work? What is it?
Irreplaceability. How's that for a criteria? I'm just looking for players who, when you take them out of the squad, even when you bring in other world-class talents, it somehow just doesn't work as well. And that brings me nicely to my number two.
He's not one.
Nope.
Wow.
Aguero. Listen, Aguero, his numbers say everything that you need to know about Sergio Aguero. You bring in a Brazilian and Gabriel Jesus, and somehow, as good as Gabriel Jesus is, this team doesn't look as good as without Sergio Aguero. I don't think the game has seen as natural a finisher as Sergio Aguero since maybe Robbie Fowler.
That's fair. Just surprised you got me at two. I've guessed a couple of your number ones at others. I got this wrong. I would have had Aguero as your. And look, it's total subjective. There's subjectivity here. Yep.
City's own captain, fantastic. Listen, and just speaking of players who are irreplaceable, Vincent Kompany, even in his latter years, where he had injuries and couldn't train, and you saw exactly how important he was to City. Not just about the numbers, not just about what he brought on the field, but his standing off it, how he unified that dressing room. He was everything that you needed a world-class star to be, and everything that you needed a great captain to be. I don't think, as good as these players are, as great as their numbers are, I don't think there's anybody, any individual, any personality who meant more to City over the last decade than Vincent Kompany.
I know when I asked you who just missed out, you said Yaya. These are your three. I think it would be unfair to end this without a mention of David Silva.
I mean, David Silva came in and again, transformed the way a midfielder played in the Premier League, brought a certain standing to City. I mean, saying that, you look along this list, Carlos Tevez doesn't get him. I mean, it's
not bad.
Where else can these names be on the board? And even if they don't get in the top three, they don't automatically get a mention.
A friend of mine, Paul Ritchie, used to play for Manchester City. He was a Scottish defender. No disrespect to him, and whenever you start a sentence with no disrespect, you know you're going to be disrespectful, but they've come a hell of a long way since the days of, in the third team, when they wore that garish kit and they had that game at Wembley, and these are your top three of the decade. Kevin De Bruyne at 3, Aguero at 2, and Captain Fantastic, Vincent Kompany, is Shaka's top Man City player of the decade.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.